Hello folks, welcome. This is Wager Detective checking on in. We're going to cap this Rams vs. Falcons game tonight. Monday Night Football coming at you live. This is Wager Detective. Please be sure to click the like button and subscribe. I appreciate any support out there for Wager Detective. We're going to get into this matchup, Rams and Falcons, Monday night game, Monday night matchup, and let's get into it. Right here what we have is the head-to-head between these teams. Going back to however long. I usually go back to 5, 7, or 9 games. I keep it an odd number to break a tie in case there is a tie. This one I went back to the last 9, and the Rams are 4-5 in the last 9 head-to-head versus the Falcons. The plus-minus added up and then divided by the 9. The Rams are plus 0.66 points per game over that span, and the average score is 50.7 points per game between the 9 games added up and divided by 9. Real simple math there. Last 5 meetings, the Rams are 2-3. Okay. And they're minus 4.2 points per game between their plus minus, and the average score is 53.4 points per game. The Rams are 2-3 last 5 at the Falcons. They are between their plus and their minus. They're plus 5.6 points a game, and the average score is 50.4 points per game. If we look at, and this isn't on this screen here, I went into the situational here between what the Rams and Falcons do, and my situational play here is what do they do road in December and what do they do road versus their conference non-division. So I went back to 2021 to give me a nice sample size. The Rams road December since 2021 versus their conference non-division, they are 7-3 straight up, but they're 3-7 against the spread that's set right now, which on FanDuel you could get 7.5. You'd be surprised. In those last 10 road games in December for the Rams, they have landed in their wins exactly on that 7 3 times. So out of the last 10 road December games for the Rams, they're 7-3, but they're 3-7 against the spread at the minus 7.5. And 3 of those games have landed on the 7 exactly. In those last 10 road games for the Rams in December, 6 have gone over and 4 have gone under. Okay, the Rams since 2021 conference non-division games. This is where it gets a little interesting. They're 4-10 straight up in that span. So the road conference under McVay, the Rams versus conference non-division games, they're 4-10 straight up. They are 6 over and 8 under in those matchups. And in their last 5, it is 2 over and 3 under. In the 4 games that they have won out of those 14 games, only 1 of them they have covered against the spread. Okay, we're going to go to the Falcons now, and the Falcons at home since 2021 in the month of December, they are 3-5 straight up. They're 3-2 against the spread in those 5 losses. In those 8 games, home December games for the Falcons since 2021, they are 1 over and 7 under the total that's set tonight, which is 49.5. Okay, the Falcons at home since 2021 versus conference non-division opponents, they are 8-6 straight up, but they're 2-4 against the spread in those 6 losses. In those 14 games, 5 have gone over and 9 have gone under. In the last 5 home conference games versus non-division, 2 have gone over and 3 have gone under. Okay? The Falcons have not covered against the AFC West this year in 2 of the games they played. They haven't covered the spread that's set tonight. The only team they did beat from the NFC West this year is the Cardinals. Okay? So that gives you a little bit of a blueprint. And I would recommend throwing on the headsets and just listening to this and just soaking it all in, everything that you're hearing. It gives you a better vibe. You get into that Wager Detective feel of how he caps a game and what he's looking for. Let's take a look at the Rams, see what they've done this year, and they're just absolutely a fantastic team. You look at that SRS, simple rating system, they're 13.80, solid. They have and on top of that, they've had a tough schedule, one of the toughest in the NFL with 3.27. But they are number 1 in the NFL in SRS. Mike LaFleur's got them clicking on all cylinders, and Shula isn't doing a bad job either. I mean, they're only giving up 19.9 points per game, which is 7th best in the NFL, but they are number 1 in the NFL, scoring 30.5 points per game. If we look what they do well, it plays for, they're number 1 in the NFL. They're number 2 in yards. They're number 1 in first downs. They're 6 in passing attempts, 2 in passing yards, 1st in passing touchdowns, 40 passing touchdowns. That is just absolutely remarkable. I would imagine that Matthew Stafford's going to get the MVP. I know you got Drake Mace having a great year, but I'm giving it to Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's only thrown 5 interceptions, so I think that's clear cut there. He's number 1 in the NFL as far as quarterbacks with throwing the least amount of interceptions, as you can see there, with only 5. They're number 8 in the NFL in rushing touchdowns, so they've scored 57 touchdowns from scrimmage this year. Now, if you look at what they've done offensively, plays per drive, they're 15th. They're 2nd in yards per drive and number 1 in points per drive. So if you look at plays per drive, they're only 15th middle of the pack, but they're 2nd in yards and 1st in points. That clearly indicates, without even just knowing the game, just being able to put those things together real quick, they're a chunk play type team. They pick up plays in chunks. They don't need to get, they're number 1 in first down, so they're picking them up, and they're doing it quite often. Defensively, they're 7th against in plays against. Their teams have only passed on them quite a bit. They're 27th. Teams like to pass on them, and they've given up 23 touchdown passes. That puts them at 17th on defense, and they've given up only 7 rushing touchdowns, which puts them number 1 in the NFL. You're going to have to beat them in the air. You're not going to probably get in. I mean, it's just remarkable that they've only given up 7 passing touchdowns. It's fantastic. Okay, and if we look at what teams do against them defensively, their defense is great. Plays per drive, they're 25th, but then they tighten up as far as yards. They're 13th, and then once they get down to that red zone, I would imagine they're 4th best in the NFL, only giving up 1.74 points per game on the defense. If we look at what they do, 3rd down conversions, they're 21st in the NFL, which you think would sound kind of like, well, they're just not getting in that position where they're getting a lot of 3rd downs. They're getting to 3rd downs before they even get to. They're getting first downs before they even really get to the first downs by picking up chunk plays and moving down the field. They're pretty good in 4th down conversions, 18 to 25, puts them 3rd best. And then look in the red zone. They're 5th best in the NFL. They scored a 65% clip. They've been in the red zone 69 times, and they've scored 45 touchdowns. And they're just as fantastic as far as not giving up red zone touchdowns. They've only let opponents in the red zone 47 times this year, only giving up 22 touchdowns. That puts them 3rd best in the NFL. Okay, Matthew Stafford, we don't need to say much about him. He leads the league in touchdown passes. 1% of his passes are turning into interceptions. That's fantastic. He's got the longest pass of the year with 88 yards. And look at he's only been sacked 19 times. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, this is the kind of line that Justin Herbert's looking for, and some of these other guys that are getting sacked unbelievably much. He's only been sacked 19 times. That is absolutely amazing. He is going to make the Pro Bowl. He does have a 4th quarter comeback and a game-winning drive on the year. Who's getting it done on the ground for the Rams? We look at Kyron Williams. He leads the way with 10, and then Blake Corum has 6. And then receiving, we see who's doing it here. Puka Nacua leads the NFL in receiving first downs with 73. Devontae Adams has 51. Colby Parkinson has 21. But look at the touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 14. Now, I don't know if Devontae Adams is going to be back for this game or they're going to shut him down. Devontae Adams, wide receiver. He's doubtful. So you might have a game here where he's not going to play. That hamstring that he's dealing with doesn't look like he's going to play. And if you're the Rams, why force him back? If we look at the division and what they got going on here, they are probably not going to win the division because of that loss to the Seahawks last week. If you look at them, they are, I want to look at this NFC West division and see where they sit amongst these other teams. Okay, so they're still behind the 49ers. They're behind the Seahawks. It's going to be hard to catch either one of those teams. But I would imagine you're still trying to play. You don't know how much. I would think that Sean McVay's probably going to want to get in and out of here as quick as possible. He's not going to want to have any injuries. This is not going to be a game where you're going to probably see a lot of high-scoring theatrics where there's just a lot of scoring going on. So if you look at that and you break it down that way, I would probably rule against this game going over. 49.5 is a lot, but from the numbers we've looked at, it's real sketch, especially with the game they played last week. If you look at the last 3 weeks, actually the last 4 weeks, they've been in some high-flying affairs there. Last 4 weeks, their total has gone way over that number that they have set tonight, but yet the book set it at 49.5. I think they know that McVay's probably just going to want to get in, get some reps in, keep his team fresh, but not going to really try to open up the playbook for other teams to see on Monday Night Football. This game is not necessarily meaningless, but it's just not a game with the 49ers winning yesterday where they really have a chance to catch the Seahawks there. And I don't think the Seahawks are going to let off the gas in the last week of this season to let the Rams win. I don't know who they got to play, but I would imagine not. So from that standpoint, I would lean the under here. We do know that the Rams do have a pretty decent team. And let's take a look at what they do here. Kicks and punt returns. Is there anybody there that we can look at that we can say, they're standout guys? If we look at this here, I mean, it's pretty interesting. Kicking, if you look at kicking, Joshua Carty, I mean, he's not getting much action here. He's only field goals, 10 of 15. When you look at that, 10 of 15 really says a lot. You've only had 15 field goal attempts. That means they're so busy scoring or punting the ball away that they're just not getting, you're not getting the opportunity to score. So he's not really had an opportunity, but he's 10 for 15, so that's probably better. I mean, he's only making 88.5% of his field goals. He's only 23 of 26 on extra points. If you're looking forward to a game where they might need a kicker, keep an eye on that, because that could be their downfall if they come to a situation where they need a field goal kicker. Doesn't look like Joshua Carty's that guy. As far as punters, Ethan Evans has 46 punts on the year, and 41% of them are landing inside the 20. And his net yard punting, look at this. He's only got 46 yards per punt. That's a low number from all these other games I've capped this year. So kicking between punter and field goal kicker, not good for the Rams. So fortunately for them, they don't need those type of guys on their team the way they score. Interceptions, they got 15, not bad. 78 passes deflected, 11 forced fumbles, 12 fumble recoveries, 41 sacks, not bad. They do have 56 tackles for loss and 98 quarterback hits. It seems like a decent defense, up front. It seems like they're more balanced in the back end to their linebackers in their secondary than maybe up front. So let's get a look at what the Falcons do. The Falcons have had a disappointing season, man. I mean, they've just had a disappointing season all around. Let's take a look at them and see what I would imagine that he will be fired. Imagine the coach, I forget his name here. Raheem Morris. I would imagine he will be gone. I don't think he'll be back. I think Zach Robinson's done a pretty good job as the offensive coordinator, but I just don't think you have a head coach that is just a guy. Jeff Ulbrich, not bad. You look at them, their SRS, not good, 22nd in the NFL, and they really haven't had a tough schedule compared to the Rams. If we look at who's on the injury report, Mike Hughes, Clark Phillips, Sam Roberts, Jake London is questionable. They're definitely going to want him in the game if they're going to have a chance at winning this game or keeping it close. And if you look at them, offensively, 13th in yards, 13th in first downs, 26th in passing touchdowns with only 17. They've given up 24. That puts them at 20th, so they're -6 in passing touchdowns between them and their opponents this year. They are pretty good. They're both these teams. Look at that. They've only given up 11 rushing touchdowns all year, so they're stout up front. They do have 16 rushing touchdowns themselves, so they're +5 in that category versus them and their opponents. And then if we get what they do, yards per drive, plays per drive, and points per drive, it's just like they're more towards the back end of the NFL there. And I would imagine that Kirk Cousins is going to play tonight. I don't know I believe he's in there. We know what he does on Monday Night Football. He's not a guy you can necessarily trust. If we look at their offense, third down conversion, they're only converting third down 33% of the time, but they are seventh in red zone efficiency. So if they get in the red zone, they're getting in there at a 64% clip to score, which puts them at seventh. And they're not bad defensively. They're kind of like a bend but don't break type of defense. It puts them at 12th in the NFL in red zone efficiency on defense. Looks like Cousins probably going to get the start here. 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Nothing really to write home about. He's been sacked 9 times. They've been keeping him pretty well upright. Who's getting it done? Bijan Robinson, I think, is one of the best backs in the NFL. Young back, Tyler Algier. They got a couple guys they can mix it up with power on the short yardage, and then they got a back that could just, he's just great. I love the way he cuts and the way he moves out there. Bijan is one of my favorite running backs in the NFL. And look, he made the Pro Bowl. That PB right there, that awards right there means Pro Bowl. And if we look at receiving, we look at who's doing what. Bijan's got 3 interceptions, so 3 touchdown receptions. So he's gotten it in on the ground 6 times, 3 receiving. So he's a dual threat back. Kyle Pitts 5 touchdowns. Drake London 6. That would be nice if they have him in here tonight. So they got guys that can really get into the end zone. And Kirk Cousins, for what it's worth, he's not as bad of a quarterback as people make him out to be. He can have good games, he can have bad games. You don't know what you're going to get. I would imagine the competitive fire will be there tonight to come out and shine on Monday Night Football. And if we look at defensively, 12 interceptions, so they got 1 more, or roughly the same as the Rams. 71 passes deflected, solid. 14 fumble recoveries. You got to be careful about that. They jump on the ball when it gets on the ground. They got 50 sacks on the year, not bad. 85 tackles for loss and 88 quarterback hits. So they're pretty measurable compared to what the Rams do on defense. And if we look at kicking, I didn't get to that. Let's see who their kicker is here. Zane Gonzalez. Who's getting most of the... he's 13 of 15, 87%. Not bad. 4 for 6 from 50 plus, 40 to 49 yards, 7 for 7. And he is 13 to 14, an extra point. They might have found their field goal kicker there. He's 93% there. 27% touchbacks on his kickoffs. And his average kickoff is about 59 yards. Punting-wise, if we look at them there, Bradley Pinion, he's got 55 punts on the year, and he's just brutal. Look at this guy, 44 yards per punt. That's even worse than the Rams punter. And he is getting 53% of his punts are landing inside the 20. So looks like a directional kicker there that finds the inside of that 20, and that's good against a team like the Rams. You don't want to give them any good field position because they do like to pick up chunk plays. But the Falcons are not bad defensively. It seems like their problem is more the offense. And I don't think it's the Zach Robinson. I don't think it's the offensive coordinator. I think he's found his way. I think Raheem Morris, if I'm running that organization and I'm Arthur Blank, I'm definitely, he's fired. He would have probably been fired already. I would have probably moved another guy into that position already, just because you're putting a product out on the field that people want to see, and I just don't think that Raheem Morris, and I said this this is just another coach in the coaching carousel that I've said that should be gone, and sooner or later it seems like those guys disappear. So I'm probably on to something there. All right, the cap is done. From all the things I've looked at, I think the thing that stands out to me is that in this cap that we went through, if you go back to the beginning of the video, the Rams rode December since 2021. They're 7-3 straight up, but they're 3-7 against the spread when they do win in those in all those games. And if you look at their road non-division conference games since 2021, they're 4-10 straight up, and they're only 1-3 against the spread in those 4 wins. Falcons home since 2021 versus conference non-division games, they're 8-6 straight up. In those 6 losses, they are 2-4 against the spread, so a little worrisome there. But I mean, more so, it's leaning me to say the Falcons win this game. The over/under is a little bit more sketchy, especially since I think the Rams just want to get in and out of this game. They don't want to get. There's not really. I'm not going to say there's not much to play for, but This is the game. This is a classic McVay game where I think he just wants to get in, shoot clock. Let's get the point, and if we score, we score. Now the question is, can the Falcons, keep up to whatever the Rams do? And I think they can. I think if the Rams get to 21, which I think they certainly can if everybody's playing, I don't see the Rams necessarily trying to come out and put up 40 points. I'll be very surprised if they do. It's just not in their MO, and especially a game like this even more so. So the call for Wager Detective, that line was 7. It moved to 7.5. The call for Wager Detective is going to be, and let's take a look. I'll look at that now, see if it's still there. See what the line is. Okay, so it is 7.5, and it is juiced to -120 for the Falcons, and the line is sitting at 49.5. But the last 4 games for the Rams have cleared that total by a mile, and now they're only setting a 49.5 on Monday Night Football. I would lean under. So the call for Wager Detective here, the stronger play is going to be the Falcons plus 7.5 and under 49.5. So you're laying chalk on both those numbers, but I'm leaning towards both those through my cap. This is Wager Detective here, 6:08 p.m. from Atlantic City. Please click the like button and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in and watching. And share the video, like it, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Final call here, Falcons plus 7.5 at home tonight on Monday Night Football, and leaning under for Wager Detective under the 49.5. I'll talk to you soon.